Hello, welcome back to my garden. Today we're gonna take a quick little walk around the flower garden, and I'm going to just point out a few of the things that I think are noteworthy, or I want to show you sort of how they turned out. Overall, the flower garden has been a pretty big disappointment for me this year, and that's due to numerous factors. Me, the deer, the weather, me. So we're not going to do a plant by plant kind of thing, and it's not all that spectacular or anything to show you guys, and which is why I didn't do a summer flower garden tour or fall flower garden tour, as it were, because just not to my level of what I had imagined or thought about in my mind. There's a lot of things that didn't work out quite so well for me this year. I may wind up pointing one or two of them out, but overall it's getting better than it was last year. It's better than the year before that, and it's better than not having a flower garden. So I'm sure next year will be much better as well. Also, I want to make a quick note. If you watch to the end, I have a little announcement to make about possible next week videos. With all that being said, let's go over to the flower garden. Right here in the front, you can see sitting on the ground, I have some more of the rope top concrete edging, and I will be putting that along the front over here, or along the side of the entrance to the flower garden, probably next week or the week after, depending upon the weather. I was actually short one piece because when I went to demold it, I had demolded it too soon, and it didn't have enough time to cure, and it cracked in half. So I had to pour another one. That one's in the garage now, curing. I'm gonna let it sit for another day before I demold it, but then I'll have the necessary pieces to finish this side, much as I had just finished, what, 2-3 weeks ago, the other side. And I'm hoping before the year is over to get the other entrance to the flower garden done at the very least this year. So that'll be another 2 pours of concrete roughly. Anyways, again, I'm hoping to get all that done this year. This way the entrances will at least have the new concrete edging. And then starting next year, I'll be working on the outer perimeter. I think that'll be the play, is just to do the outer perimeter first. I'll get that done, and then following years, I'll do the interior perimeter. So probably in about 5 to 10 years, I'll have this done. I said it, I think last year when I started this project, that it was going to take years for me to do. I'm a one-man show here, and there's just so much you can do, especially in the heat of the summer. I really don't like doing anything, particularly in the heat of summer, because I don't want to get heat exhaustion. With all that prattling aside, sorry, here are my dahlia beds. Didn't turn out quite as I expected this year. Again, partially because of me, partially because of the weather. So let me explain. So you may see a lot of stakes here, and each of these stakes represented a planting. Well, many of the plantings died. One of the reasons being is that we didn't get any rain in July. I believe July was bone dry. June was probably the last time we had gotten a good rain, and maybe early June. So we had a bit of a drought, and I planted a lot of these dahlias fairly shallow. And because of that, they dried out, they died. I wasn't watering enough, couldn't water enough. So a lot of these dahlias died. Thankfully, some of these dahlias did survive. Right over here, I have a variety called Gabrielle Marie. That one seems to have survived. Looks like it needs a bit more tying up. It's getting quite bushy, but that's okay. It's alive and thriving. I'm not sure if it's in camera shot, but down here, I have a Bishop's Children. It should be a lot taller, but again, weird weather this year, so not doing so hot. Right here, I have a Winky Kernel. The Winky Kernel did survive. The one next to it seemed to have died, but now I see it throwing up new shoots, so this is always a plus. The one right up here is Kelvin Floodlight. I've already tied this one numerous times, but again, surviving. Back over here, I have, what do I have? I don't know, but it's pink and it looks nice. And in front of it, I have Pooh. Pooh is actually doing pretty well this year. I got a deadhead, a couple of these flowers here, so while I'm talking to you, I'm just going to snip them off. This bed should be a lot fuller, and it's not, and I just didn't water enough. The heat was a lot, but there's a lot of plants that did survive, so I have to take that as a plus. So hopefully next year, many of these plants do survive the winter. I feel that they will, because many of these plants have put on significant growth, which means the tubers down below the soil are doing pretty well, and then they should come back stronger. Anything that didn't survive the year, well, I think it's just opportunity for new dahlias next year. Some of you have been watching on a regular, probably, or maybe remember this. I had this big open space right here this year, and I wanted to fill it with something. And I came up with the wacky idea of filling it with 2 different types of basil. I have a dark opal basil, this purplish plant right here, and then I believe this is just a regular Genovese basil. And I put it in a checkerboard pattern. So the thinking was that it would grow and you'd see the checkerboardy, and well, it didn't quite work out the way I thought. But the bees absolutely love this. Right now there's probably at least a dozen, if not more, bees all over these plants. They've been flowering. I've let them go to flower. It was all part of the plan. But next year, once these plants come out, this creates an open opportunity for me to plant something else next year. And I'm already thinking about, well, I've been thinking about probably since early summer, different plants and flowers and things that I want to grow and try to fill in the space with. So we'll have to wait and see what next spring brings. Over here, I have my hardy banana tree, and that has just been incredible. It's been growing. It's probably put on at least 3 feet of growth this year alone. I got it when it was just a little thing. I've been looking online about, apparently hardy banana roots can survive up to -10 degrees. Again, I'm in growing zone 8B. Ground doesn't freeze here, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. And I'm thinking that once the plant goes over for the year, I'm just going to leave all those dead leaves to act as sort of an insulation maybe. It should be fine through the winter. And then in the springtime, I'll clean it up. By that point, hopefully, maybe, possibly, it's throwing on new shoots and pushing up new leaves. These brown tipped things right here. This is a giant hyssop, Agastache. It didn't get as large as I hoped, but a lot of these plants, if not all of these plants, are alive. As you can see, I'm just dropping some seeds right on the ground because I hope that they all grow back next year, and I think that they will. If I'm not mistaken, giant hyssop should get to about 4 foot tall. If I'm wrong, leave a comment below. But that's not why I brought you over here. Why I brought you over here was this. I have an iris, and I don't know necessarily the variety of iris I have here, but this one's going to flower. That one too, which is really weird. I'll take it though. I thought irises only flowered in the springtime, but maybe this variety does flower in the fall, maybe spring and fall, maybe just fall. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure. I know this is a German bearded iris. What variety specifically, I'm not sure on. But it's flowering, so I will definitely take that. It's a nice surprise. I was just going to gloss over the irises because, well, they're just leaves right now this time of year normally, but I have some flowers that are starting to come up, so that's pretty neat. I'm not sure if it's in frame, but I think that you can see some peonies in front, and they flowered this year, which was the first year after being transplanted, which was really wonderful. I'm really happy about that. So hopefully next year they just get bigger, put on more beautiful blooms, because they're only about 18 inches tall right now, and I think that they should get, most of these varieties that I have in this corner of the flower garden should get much larger. But that's not why we're here. Why we're here is this plant and this plant. This is a standing cypress. I have seen the hummingbirds going after the small red flowers occasionally in the evenings, which is really fun. This plant was not supposed to flower this year. This is a biannual, from my understanding, but this year is the first year this plant has been in the ground and it's flowered. And I'm okay with that as well. Now, this plant should have gotten to about 4 foot tall, and if this plant survives the winter, then hopefully next year it gets to about that 4 foot tall height. The one thing I would probably do next year differently than this year is just try to control some of these branches. They've been you can see splaying out a bit, but I have been letting it go to seed, and I have been taking some of the seeds and just tossing them around here, letting it essentially self-seed, because I like this plant. It has put up with drought, it has put up with torrential downpours. The deer don't touch it, so that's always a plus for me, and the hummingbirds love it. Right here next to me is a Salvia amistad. Now, this plant also should get to about 4 foot tall, hence the reason I have this metal stake here. I've tried growing this before. I've kind of grown it successfully, but it dies off in the winter. I took cuttings last year, but I killed the cuttings in the greenhouse because I overwatered them. That was very foolish of me, and I think I've learned my lesson. So I've taken new cuttings from it. They're growing on quite well right now next to the greenhouse, and I'll overwinter them in the greenhouse to be planted out next year, and I will be very, 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 very careful with the watering. But in the meantime, this plant is doing quite well. This plant also, theoretically, if I mulch over it nicely, and we don't have a super cold winter, which we're not supposed to, this plant will come back next year. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Right here, these sticks that you see in the ground with just a couple of leaves on them are my transplanted Victory Blue or Blue Victory or just no, I think it's Victory Blue salvia. I transplanted these probably about 3 weeks ago now, and it appears that all of the sticks that I stuck in the ground are surviving and thriving, which is really good news. I see some new growth on many of them. Talking about plants that were transplanted that did survive, here's my Japanese anemone. That's Honoré Jobert, I believe. And you could probably see, or hopefully you could see, new growth right there. And I believe that's new growth right there, which is pretty cool. And that's a leaf that did survive from the transplant. So there's growth coming up here. So it does appear that the Japanese anemone did survive. Over here, I have my Black Pearls Astilbe. And that one also looks like it has survived and thrived. So I'm pretty happy about that as well. They're not going to do anything this year. It's too late in the year, but it looks like they've all taken root, which is the important part. They'll get themselves established before the cold, and then next spring, they all should be coming up, hopefully, and putting on a lovely show. I touched on this section right here earlier in the year, and what had happened is that I let grass and weeds get out of control in this one spot here between my two clumps of gladiolus, and I didn't realize or know at the time, but I have some, I believe it's called oxeye daisy or false sunflower or something along those lines. But because the weeds are in here and because of the other plantings, I have yarrow pushing up through the area, which I really don't like. It's a white yarrow, I believe, so it's kind of invasive. It's a bit of a bully and a thug. Either way, the reason I'm showing you this is because even though this looks like a disaster, and even though it's filled with weeds, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to tear all this out this year. Definitely when it gets cooler. Today it's going to be too hot, but I'm going to tear all this out. This whole area I'm going to clear out, get rid of all the weeds, get rid of any plants that I don't want, save whatever plants I can, and then I'll plant this up with something entirely new next spring. Even though something does look like a disaster or is a disaster, one of the things I like about gardening is you can come back, clear it out, and redo something from scratch. Do you guys have problem spots like this in your garden? Maybe a corner of the garden that you kind of let go? Or let me know in those comments below. Right back here, I have a licorice white agastache. And if you guys have been watching since the beginning of the season, then you know that this was like 4 foot tall. I cut it back, and now you can see all the new fresh growth. And you can see there's a lot of flowers in here too, which right now the bees are absolutely loving. So many of the plants I did show you were quite alive, they were thriving, they were doing well, but there's so many other plants in the flower garden that aren't thriving, aren't doing well. There's a lot of weeds in the flower garden that I never got out, or even if I did get out a section, the weeds come back. You're never going to get rid of all the weeds, but if you can stay on top of it, for the most part, you'd be okay. You may have noticed also in some of the shots, I have grasses getting tall along a lot of the edges of, I haven't had time to walk around the flower garden, and I didn't take the time this morning because it's quite warm out to walk around the flower garden with my weed whacker, weed trimmer, or string trimmer, whatever you want to call it, to trim the edges. But it's something I need to do, and I'm going to need to do it soon. Otherwise, the grasses just start getting out of control. Because I have large sections of the flower garden opening up again next year, whether it's the section with the basil or the one section between the two gladiolus clumps that I'm going to be opening up, there's going to be new opportunities for planting things out, for trying plants that I've never grown before, and I'm really looking forward to that. Even though the flower garden to me is disappointing this year, there are positives, and it's not a situation where I'm just going to say, oh, throw up my arms and just plow it all under. You know, there will be good years, there will be bad years, and hopefully in the future there's more good years than the bad years. Now for that special announcement I was talking about in the beginning of the video, if you're still watching. Next week, we may be getting hit, grazed, or have a couple of tropical storms or depressions or whatever coming by us, near us, etc. Which may mean we're kind of rained out for the whole week. And I'm getting weather reports saying that Monday is going to be 80% rain, and next Friday is going to be 80% rain. I don't know. I think it's all kind of up in the air with what these storms are doing, and even the weathermen apparently seem to be very unsure right now, even looking at their computer models. So, if we are rained out, instead of me skipping a week of no videos, would you guys be interested in if I did like quizzes to say, hey, do you know where sunflowers originated from? Who grows the most okra in the world? Those kind of things. Just some fun plant gardening quizzes to test your guys' knowledge, have a little fun. I don't know. You guys let me know below. This is something that I do regularly over on my posts page. They used to call it community posts, now it's just posts. It's something I still do over there. You know, there's only maybe 4 or 5 of you that regularly, at least I see, go over there and check that stuff out. If you want, you can go over to the community posts page. You find that by going to my YouTube homepage, and there's a series of tabs up top for like videos, shorts, and I think you'll see posts. Click on that, it'll take you to that page. Scroll to your heart's content. There's a ton of quizzes and polls. I do polls. I do some behind the scenes pictures. But if you want to see me do a quiz video, if you want a quiz video, let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in. If more than one of you reply, I may wind up doing it. So we'll see. We'll see what the weather does, and we'll see what your guys' response is. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. And this way you don't miss out on either the quiz or some of the antics that I get up to here around my garden. And with all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.